Assalamu alaikum. It's your Nomad Consulting here. Now, before we jump into the next episode of Nomadic Delights podcast, I just wanted to ask my followers here to spend 1 minute just to give me a quick review on Spotify or whatever platform you use to listen to this podcast. It would really help in regards to my stats and also to let me know what kind of feedback I'm getting from my followers. Alright, enjoy the show. Take care. Peace and love. Okay, guys, today's on Nomadic Delight. My guest is Mona, the founder of Ikra Center, a community center that provides a creative space for personal development. It is based in Hargeisa, Somaliland. Mona, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. No, my pleasure. Well, first of all, I would like to start with a simple question by asking you to give my followers a basic introduction on who is Mona.
Okay. So my name is Mona Liban, and I guess technically I'm a writer and I'm an educator. Before that, I was in corporate Australia, and I did that for a good um, 10 to 12 years, I would say, professionally before moving on to a writing career,
Hmm.
which is really how, for the past 5 years, that's how I've been making money.
Nice.
And since then, I've also started teaching, which is just an amazing, incredible profession to be in. So that's a bit about my professional background. I lived in Australia most of my life. Before that, my family was in Egypt, and before that, we were in the Middle East. So,
Nice.
and now I live in Hargeisa full time.
So, تتكلم Arabic? You speak a bit of Arabic?
شوية مش كتير.
No, no,
I,
because
I used to be, once upon a time, I used to be fluent, but
okay. No, no,
those days are gone.
Egypt. That's an interesting. I lived there many years ago, so I always have some fond memories of it. All right, sweet.
Yes, me too.
Okay, so no, thanks for that intro, especially to hear how your transition from Australia to Somaliland, the whole transition, as well as the corporate world to being a writer and a teacher. Okay, so it kind of follows now to another question I have. What I'd like to understand is the name Ikra Center and what led you to create Ikra and why did you choose Hargeisa as a location? It's kind of like I know I'm kind of bunching two questions in one go, but Ikra Center and why Somaliland?
Okay, cool. So this actually leads to the question of how I ended up to be in Somaliland and living here
Hmm.
for the past 4 years. So in 2019, I came to Hargeisa for the first time to work on a book project. It was supposed to be a 3 month long research thing, and then I would travel around the continent because I'd taken some sabbatical time.
Nice.
And then shortly after I'd been here, COVID happened.
Ah, yes, good old
Yeah.
COVID.
So,
Sorry, yeah, yeah.
so I had a writing residency in South Africa for a few months
Hmm.
and then had come back to Somaliland to continue my research. So at that stage, I'd only been in Somaliland, if you add it all up, six weeks or something.
Mm.
So I hadn't really finished my 3 months.
Hmm.
And then so when COVID happened, I wasn't ready to go back to Melbourne.
Right.
Did not for a second think it would be a 2 year long thing,
Wow.
like at all. So I'm like, oh no, that's fine. I'll hang out here for a bit and just, continued researching and writing. And then at the same time, a lot of my family members, all stages of education, university, high school, primary school, came online.
Hmm.
We were living in a big house with a lot of family. So I just was kind of tapping into their lectures or their classes online. So I was in the classroom with them.
Mm.
And I think what I noticed most of all is that the curriculum was very rigid, in terms of the subjects that people could study. And a lot of the creative subjects had been taken out of the curriculum. And that to me is a little bit, it's, I felt, um, I felt a pang of unfairness
Yeah.
because there are a lot of people that, they're not necessarily going to enjoy the science-based or maths
Correct.
classes, and that's what most offerings were. So we started. My sister and I started running an after-school program,
Right.
and that was just on the creative, like reading and writing and doing some art-based programs. And we did that from home for 8 months. And eventually, I think because of the way, we were teaching English and the way we were teaching literature and the way we were really about the books
Yep.
and reading for enjoyment and having little book clubs for kids and so on. Parents started to ask me if I could help them.
Right.
So then we started sort of catering to both adults and um, youth
Interesting.
and children and so on. So when we were thinking about opening Iqra, only part of it was because, Ayan's, my sister's place, couldn't hold any more people.
Right. Right.
So we started looking for space, and I think everybody was like, "Oh, you should do something for, university graduates because I have these gaps," or "You should do something
Mm-hmm.
for kids because there are all these gaps,"
Mm-hmm.
or adults. So, and I'm going to be honest, we wanted to help everybody.
Yeah.
So, and we also knew we weren't ready to, start a full-blown school or something along those lines.
Yep.
So we decided on a community center, a community space where people can come um, and take the courses they want to take.
Nice.
So our job is really to provide for underserviced areas of education
Mm.
that you can't find in school or university or
De-
beyond.
Definitely. I mean, I can tell you from personal experience. You're right. Somaliland is missing a lot of services. It's missing a lot of things, and especially the art and creative side is put to the bottom of the barrel. It's like, hey, it's not really needed. You need to be an engineer, a mathematician. It's like kind of an accountant, lawyer. Everything else is more like, yeah, okay, good to have, but it's not, needed. But then in respect to that, I'll come back to the whole element of the audience. But then why you chose the name Iqra? I know Arabic wise, but and even the way you spelled it is nice because it's easy. Everyone can say it, no matter which language you speak. It's easy to say it. So
Yes.
what inspired that name?
So the name actually comes from the idea that everything starts with reading and just being able to share and distribute knowledge to one another. I mean, Soma, as a culture, we're always told, or as a people, we're always told we come from an oral culture. But I mean, Somalis have been writing for a long time. It's just not widely used. And I like the idea of books and something written lasting. So to me, I think it's an important aspect of the culture to embrace.
Right.
And I think it's great to be proud that we are people who embrace oral culture and we're great orators and um, poets and so on. But putting it down on paper and passing it on to the next generation, for me, has a lot of value.
Yeah.
And I feel that by not having it, we have lost a little bit.
Yeah.
So for me, I felt like starting with, and in the Quran, as you know,
Yes.
the first word revealed is read.
Yes. Such a good choice, honestly.
So for me, that's where it all starts. It starts with reading, um, and as I said, or I told you before,
Yeah.
reading has always been a big part of my life. At different stages of my life, it's brought different aspects.
Yep.
And it's for some reason it always delivering what I needed at that point in time.
Right.
Um, so yeah, that's how the name came up. But in terms of the spelling,
Yeah.
we realized that there was another institute by the same name with an IQRA, which is how
Ah.
we'd initially intended to spell it. Um, and then so we tried our best
Mm-hmm.
to come up with another name,
Hmm.
but all roads led back. to Ikra. So we decided that the E would be the best way to go
Yeah.
while still keeping our intention. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's kind of worked out well because for even non-native Arabic speakers, when they read it, it automatically they're saying it the correct way. So it's actually pretty cool in that sense. And then what I was going to say, one thing when you mentioned about what led you and your sister to create this community center, you could have easily gone down the path of profit making school. You know, like that's what everyone does in Somaliland. But I love the fact that you've done a center that caters for all types of audience, whether it be young or old, and especially because I personally visited your center. I know that day you were unfortunately not there, but it was such a cool like place to vibe at, you know, like, and that's the thing that's actually needed in Somaliland. We have our culture, we have our way, but sometimes you just want to have a place just to enjoy the arts. So I for me enjoy the vibe you guys created there, you know.
Thank you.
So
And
yeah.
look, to be honest with you, like there are other groups who've been doing it. Like I love what Hargeisa Cultural Center, for example, and that's how I got immersed into the culture and the literature of Somaliland when I first came in 2019,
Mm,
right? And that also led to my writing residency in South Africa
right.
um, in the same year. So it's the groundwork in a sense has been done by other groups for us, which is fantastic. But at the same time, I think what was even more valuable for us to offer was space that people could just use as they wanted, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, no. You know what? You've hit the nail on the head. I had forgotten about the Hagesh Culture Center, and Dr. Jama is a gentleman, and that I would like one day to interview. But the thing about it, I found for me, even though I do speak a bit of Somali, but not fluent, so it was too Somalified, if I could say that. You know, like you need to be one of those poets and those kind of like start quoting Hadrawi and all that kind of stuff. Whereas I
So,
found that this Iqra Center was more of a hey, you know what? I can bust a bit of Somali, but at the same time, I also can drop some English when I have a question. So I think for you, I find that as a good platform in Hargeisa, for especially for people who are new to the language or are struggling to speak the language publicly. And one thing that I did see this as a perfect example. So one coffee shop that I normally frequent a lot. You know me, I like coffee. I met this brother. He's actually from Australia, and he had kids. I mean, when I say kids, these were like grown kids, yeah, in the early 20s. And then so we like every time he would have breakfast at his coffee shop, we have a catch up, talk about life. And then this gentleman told me, oh, thankfully my kids, because they were stuck to me all the time, found this cool place. I said, what's this place? He's called Iqra Center. They go there, learn their Somali, and they chill with other like-minded diaspora, and I can have my own break. So this is what I'm saying about you providing a nice platform that not only to learn Somali, but also to do other things. But anyway, back to Hargeisa Somaliland. What I need to understand, even though it's a cool thing what you're doing, yeah, let's be honest, okay? I love Somaliland, and I'm always the number one ambassador for Somaliland. However, when it comes to I'm like registering a business, running a business, there's a lot of challenges. We still have not gone to the stage of Rwanda, like a one-stop shop on certain things. So one example I can give you: when I had to register my consulting company, I had to face a lot of complexity. I had to feel a lot of challenges. I had to find small dilalin or like a middleman just to try and sort my license out. Can you share, because you are now coming from a different, you're not your average, and shop or something. What challenges did you had when you're trying to set up this community center?
mm, um, I think this is a question like that comes up a lot for diaspora entrepreneurs and people who are setting up businesses or have had businesses in Somaliland. The thing for me is like we had a fair share of challenges for sure,
Yeah.
but I also had a fair share of benefits
Mm,
just by making it in Somaliland.
nice.
You know,
Positive things.
so if we like starting with the benefits, I think for me, one of the key things that happened in Somaliland is this is a place where I already had social capital because my mother's from here, my father's from here.
Yes.
I have a wide extended family, and also it was almost like reaping the rewards of connections my parents had, but not connections because they were ministers
Yeah.
or had power as such, but just because they treated people well in the past and had helped a lot of people here. So then when people heard, oh, I'm Mose, oh, okay, like I'm going to help you out. Where do you need to go? What do you need to set up? So I think for me, coming from Australia, where my social capital was everything that I built, really,
Nice.
and through my networks and my degrees of separation, it was a nice change to have that. And I had friends growing up who naturally had that in Australia.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one benefit I can speak to, which made the process easier for me. And I'm not saying everybody will have it, but it is one of the benefits that I came across.
Nice.
Um, and it was a wonderful way for me to reconnect with family, but also to connect more with my mom, for example, by being around her old friends and her old family members and so on. Um, so, um, and there are other benefits in the sense that um, sometimes in Somaliland it is easier to do things because you're just talking to people, oftentimes just human to human,
Yes.
rather than policy based and
Yes. You're right.
oh
So
well, it's
true.
our policy
Yeah.
not to da 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 da. And I think it's wonderful to have rules and regulations and policies and so on, but sometimes it's also nice just to be able to say somebody in an office, hey dude, like I've got this problem
Yeah.
and it's beyond my control, can you help me?
So true.
And people do. So there is a big focus on in Somaliland, I think, about this idea of who you know,
Yes.
which is true. It's there, but sometimes people just they vibe
You're
and they
right.
help you out. So there wasn't as much red tape, I felt, to be
Okay.
honest. Yeah.
So, see, that's one thing I like, Mona, the way you've actually shown. We can always go to the negative side, and you went straight to the positive side, and you're very right. One of the things that I did appreciate being in Somalia, and you're right, 100%, and I like the way you said it, social capital. We don't really like appreciate how much kind of foundation and the legwork our parents and their parents did, and we get to reap the benefits. So honestly, 100%, I agree with you. But you know how it is. I'm gonna flip the script with you for a little bit, okay? Let me, even though you come with a positive example, let me now flip it by coming to the sensitive subject of sex, okay?
Hmm.
Specifically the gender element side of it.
Yeah.
Alright? So as we know, James Brown famously said it's a man's world. Okay? So now you and I know that for Somaliland certain things are easier for men to do than for women. So did you face such obstacle when setting up Acre Center? Because why I'm asking that question is that if today I was to go and be a copycat and open up a similar community center in Somaliland, will it be easier for me, or would you think it'd be the same? So, did you find any challenges as a female entrepreneur setting up Acre Center?
Yeah, I mean, look, I've always avoided in my life playing a card. Like I really have because I feel like that is in itself a barrier to like it creates a mental barrier for you to get what you want. So um, when I was in Australia, I never really like tried to think about myself as a migrant or as this or as that.
Nice.
My focus was just to get what I wanted, um, and everybody else to come along. When I came to Somaliland, I am not going to lie, like that James Brown quote couldn't be any more true. It is a dude's world, and it's widely accepted. Like there is no really, there's no question marks around it. So it was a struggle, and it was confusing for me as well.
Mm.
Um, And sometimes, and if we can talk about the challenges, sometimes, like the challenges side of things, sometimes I had to just bring a mail to a
Mm.
meeting.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I caught on, right? And I was like, this me just like trying to do, just trying to do things on my merit
Yeah.
wasn't working. And I think with every system, there is a level of adaptability, because if you just sit there and say, this is not fair
Yeah.
or this is wrong, that's not really going to change much, right? So,
Absolutely.
um, but if you want to add to the system or alter it in some way, you need to at least work with
Yes.
this. So one of the things Ayan and I learned early on was just bring a dude. He doesn't even he doesn't even have to like know anything about what we're talking about. He just needs to be present. If he has a beard, even better. If he has gray hair, even better. So basically, next time we'll take you, Mohammed.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I was laughing. Just sitting there, stroking my beard and like nodding my head at the right time, you know?
yeah, no, if I'm being honest, like just work with what you've got.
Yeah.
And that worked because I felt like, people would really not even take our requests or our conversation or our pitch or any of those things seriously.
Yeah.
Do you
Wow.
know what I mean? So you're sitting in a meeting and people are talking to you, um, yeah, almost like a child, right?
Amazing. Amazing.
So that was hard. That was really, really hard. And I'm sorry, but I have to be honest.
Mm.
So, you know, eventually you don't have to bring the guy anymore.
Yes. It's like you said, your
I'm
merit
being
comes first.
honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So eventually you can just go, and people now have a value for what
Yeah.
you do because they've seen it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but initially just
It's
um,
do you know what's so funny, Mona? It's like, and I think of it like, when you are bidding for contracts in the Western world, and usually you need to have the white guy stand next to you. He doesn't know nothing, and hearing you say that makes me realize, oh my gosh, you have to adapt, but eventually you're going to, how would you say, still be rewarded based on your own merit. So that's good to know you were able to adapt to that,
yeah,
honestly.
absolutely. It's just a hurdle.
Yeah,
Jump over it, move on.
100%. Okay, now speaking about um, the services, because one thing I do like when I was going through your Instagram, when I visited your community center, is like, not only do you do like, okay, Somali classes, you do, I've seen you host a World Cup event, and I know there's a large Dutch community in Somaliland, so that was the event I saw. But what I want to understand is that, what services do you provide in Ikra? If I was to give you like give me a quick snapshot on what are the top services you guys provide.
Sure. So ICRA has two sides to its brand. The first one is a community-based um, brand, I would say, and so with ICRA community is really where we are able to provide the physical space where people can get creative. They can come to things and be social through activity.
Hmm.
Um, for me, coming from Melbourne, Melbourne is like the Australian capital of sports, of fashion, of
Yes.
art, of education. So it's the capital, sorry, tertiary education, I should say. So it's the capital of um, creative expression,
Hmm.
and but also entertainment,
Right.
right? So living in Melbourne, like every month, you know, my friends and I, we were going to somewhere new, trying like an activity that we'd never tried before.
Yeah.
There was always something opening. So I was never in lack when it came to trying something new or doing something different in terms of entertainment. And for me to come to Somaliland, and if I want to socialize, I just go out for a coffee or a meal,
Yeah.
and that's about it. That was
Yes.
hard to swallow.
Oh,
That was hard. So, like my friends and I, we would just go randomly to drumming classes or like, and we would like in one day learn the basics of drumming,
yeah.
right? Or we would go to like, I don't know if you guys have the break room in Dubai where
Yeah.
literally you go into a room and you just smash things.
Oh no, but
Have you
I'm
done
sure.
that?
I'm sure it has it. I mean, I know there's an escape room, and my wife
Yeah.
is telling me to go. Let's go visit it, and I'm like, why would I need to lock myself in a room? But I mean, but it is a fun exercise to do. But yes, yes, go ahead.
But it's just it's a little bit out there, when you leave the movies and the bowling and the things,
Yeah.
ice skating, whatever that you're used to, you can go as far as those types of activities or, spend an afternoon painting,
Yes.
and you're not an expert and you're not trying to be.
Yeah.
It's just you wanting to, work another side of your brain.
Correct. So true.
So the community stuff is really about creating space
Yeah.
for that, for entertainment and for creativity. So we have all kinds of programs. Some of them are run by us, like by the ICRA team directly, and others are run by, external talent.
Right.
So one of the things that we've done in the past, and we're about to do another one this Thursday, is open mic night for women, where it's
Nice.
an opportunity for um, girls just to come and hang out,
Yeah.
and at the same time express themselves through poetry, through writing, um,
Nice.
reflections, and because it's open mic, amateurs are welcome.
Yes.
So for people, it's another way to stand in front of a group of people,
Yeah.
and try, being out there,
Yes.
but in a safe environment and in a safe space. So that's run by Ismahan, who is a performer and a poet.
Nice.
And she's chosen our space to do that. And it's fantastic. We also like will have Hidiya Dakan, like people learning to dance, not just watching it.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it looks
Um,
pretty, but to do it, it must be difficult. Yes.
Yeah, or we might have like paint nights or movie nights. Again, there's no cinema in Somaliland, so
Yes.
having those movie screenings, it's a novelty, right?
Yes. Yes.
Um, so these are things that are open for the community, and to the community.
Yeah.
And again, it's just creating space and then
Okay.
letting it take its.
I'm gonna go on a different subject because for me, I love the vibe because the thing that when I lived out in Somalia for 1 year with my family, I found it so difficult. Like you said, I mean, for me as a man, it was easy. I go to a coffee shop, I can chat about the weather, politics, football, you name it. And but for the kids, it was like I found them being more on the screen than they were when before they lived in the UK. Now the question I have is that these events you're doing, they're not purely women only or men only. So how have you found the to balance the delicate, you know, and subject of like gender mixing in a way, or because at the end of the day, like when you mentioned there's no cinema in Somalia, and that's for me it's still a shock, but there's certain things which are not anti-Islam, but which somehow culturally are kind of a taboo in a sense. So did you ever have any headaches with that, or people trying? I mean, people with bigger beards than me coming to you telling you you shouldn't you shouldn't do it.
No, we haven't had that. But at the same time, I think what happens is people are attracted to spaces
Yeah,
that lend themselves to their values, right?
correct.
So if somebody is not really into mixed company,
Yeah,
they'll only come to the women's things,
right.
or they won't come,
Yes,
right?
yeah, true.
And then, like for example, when we had the football screenings for the World Cup,
Yes,
the demographic was mostly men, and it was
yes,
great. It was great for us to have that exposure to the male demographic. But when I'm talking about culturally, for me, I don't care about showing my age,
Yeah.
but when I was growing up, Somali people lived in mixed company and worked in mixed company and celebrated weddings in mixed company and so on. So it's more natural to me when it comes to being with my community to not have segregation.
Yep.
When I was in Saudi growing up, it was very much like
Yes. Yeah.
segregated,
Yeah.
but that's not. Then I would go home,
Yeah.
and my parents would have like both groups of people
Yep.
together. So um, I actually associated with culture
Hmm.
for me, and like I said, really you're attracting groups of people that share the same values or
Correct.
don't. Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Um,
right.
so it's really difficult to hold events for just one gender.
Yes.
It's really, really challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Financially, it's challenging. Logistically, it's challenging.
Correct.
Like so, for us, it just works better.
No, no, I like
Yeah,
it, and I think it's needed, and that's the thing that with Somaliland is a lot of, like, even if it's family focus, it's easier when both groups are there, rather than just having, dropping off at the side and me running off to my coffee shop again. But hey, but okay, Mona, as the founder of Ikra Center, what is the best part of your job? Okay, guys, just a quick moment to give a shout out to my sponsor. So, for this podcast episode, it was sponsored by my consulting company, Nomad Consulting. We specialize in training, implementation, whether it be in SAP or in Odoo. We also provide bookkeeping services within the UAE. So, give us a shout out if you need. And also, for any other companies out there that want to sponsor this podcast, feel free to reach out. All right, take care.
oh, there are so many.
Yeah. I'm sure. I am sure because just you give me a slight taste of the service you provide. It must be really fun doing all those kind of
Yeah.
events.
So there are two aspects. Sorry, we have a community aspect, but we
Okay.
also have a training.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I mean, even in Australia, I feel like it's very rare for both to be integrated the way
Mm.
we have done it.
Yeah.
So our education side is called EQ Training,
Okay. Sweet.
and again, our focus is still on what you can't find out there
Right.
with other institutes. So, for example, with Somali,
Yep.
that was one of the first questions I asked when I got to Somaliland. I was like, hey, where can I go and improve my Somali?
Yeah.
And then, of course, like everybody said to me, hey, you're in Somaliland, you learn.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and that didn't really work for me because, yeah, I know I can learn, I've already learned, but I want to get better. And
Correct.
for me, I associate that with classrooms.
Yes.
So,
100%.
um, and also just uh, what I would call maybe softer skills like public speaking,
Oh
being
yes.
able to communicate in front of large groups of people, professional writing.
Yeah.
So being able to improve on those aspects. We also have like an intro to business
Nice.
for small business owners,
Okay.
where that is done through a few different experts
Nice.
in different areas. And it again, it only these programs mostly run somewhere between 6 weeks and 12 weeks,
Okay.
right? Or 6 week, maybe like our language courses, for
Yeah.
example, with English
Yeah.
or Somali, that might be 6 months.
Good.
But these are we're not degree based
Right.
organization. We just want to get people to the next level of wherever they are.
Nice.
So with EQ training, I'm one of the teachers, and to answer your question, teaching is one of my favorite things to do. I love it, and it gives me. I go into a classroom, and by the time I'm out of the classroom, my energy's up,
Yes.
like up, up. So I feel that's an indicator. And I enjoy watching the progress of other people. And I'm also a lifelong learner myself.
Mm.
So the learning process itself is something that I enjoy playing around with, seeing how this works, trying different approaches or techniques when I'm teaching. So that's one aspect. And then the other aspect is maybe sometimes just sitting back and watching how the space
Yeah.
is allowing other professionals to share their talents, right, or their
Nice.
expertise. So we have group therapy that come in on a Thursday afternoon. It's run by a psychologist who, before would like have maybe different spaces or was restricted in terms of space, but now they use ICRA Center. We have also coding classes
Nice.
run by Tech Cave, and again, that's another web developer who's an expert who's been doing it for a long time, and now he's got space to share his talent with the next generation. So I mentioned open mic and having a talented poet like Ismahan come through and not only share her performances and her poetry, but also give the space for others.
Nice.
So I think just sitting back and watching other people do their thing well and do it well, using our space
Yes.
is, yeah,
It's honestly
important.
it's amazing because I was not even aware at all with the whole EQ training, and I love the fact that you providing in a way like some I see some snippets of a university potential. I see some snippets of a kind of a what do they call it, professional development where people come in and learn how to take their business to the next level. Like you said, I mean, intro to business. The amount of times I've come across people in Somaliland, very successful business people, but they don't have the basics of a system or like what's needed. I'm like, oh my gosh, if only you knew how to scale up your business, it'd be so much easier. But hey, you can't listen to me because I'm not a successful businessman in a way.
Sure.
But when you have this safe space for come, and I love the fact that because you, like you said, learning Somali, yes, you can learn it in the streets of Somaliland. But if you're in a classroom setting, not only do you have the vibe with other people who are similar to your level, but this networking element. So I'm always a classroom based kind of in your face. That's why COVID was a blessing for me work wise because I could do a lot of stuff remote. But people interaction wise was really difficult to kind of and face. Okay, that's good to know on the EQ side, and I'm happy to hear that's the best part. But
Yes.
for you, living around different parts of the world, having this kind of skills of creative teaching and writing, what would do you believe is your unique skill that has made you successful for the ICRA Center? I mean, I won't say, make a general
Yeah.
success of my life
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah. No, I'm going to tell you both, like the strength that's seen me through a lot, and also the weakness that's challenge like made things a little bit more challenging. Because I think it's nice to have an all-round perspective.
very true.
Okay, so I think what's helped a lot is being adaptable.
Mm,
The way I lived and worked and was in Australia, my family thought, no way will she last in Hargeisa. And they were taking bets on how long it would take for me to get back, right? But I think my ability just to roll with and not compare too much of like this is good and this is bad or this was better and this was worse. Just being able to go, okay, this is what this is and this
yeah,
is what this is, right? So I think the adaptability's worked a lot, and not expecting,
yeah,
just taking things for what they are. The thing I think that has been a challenge for me
yeah.
is letting go, not being in control of
Ah,
everything.
yes, yes,
That has been a challenge and a half,
yes,
and it's a daily thing.
yes.
It's a daily thing. So, I am adaptable, but I also like for things to come out a certain way.
Correct.
So, but it's important for me to um, set up a culture for my team where I'm trusting, I'm letting go, and I'm passing on the sense of ownership and accountability.
Nice. No, I mean, look, 100%. You're a better person than me when you mention about that. To being adaptable because even for me, live in different parts of the world, I always compare. Oh, I miss my shower. Oh, I miss my, little things that you like. You love Somaliland, but come on, we could have had the basics sorted by now. So yes, I am the kind of person who does complain for no reason when I should be grateful. But I do like this other element, like you mentioned, is and kind of giving up control because wallahi, Somaliland teaches you the meaning of deen or religion because like, oh, it's in Allah's hand. You're like, oh my gosh, no, but it's simple. Like there's a project plan. I said I want this by this date. Why can't you? No, inshallah, inshallah. So there's a lot of things that
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it does, like you said, it is a new perspective,
yeah,
like, especially Dean wise, because we're so used to controlling outcomes or
yes,
at least attempting to as much as possible. And also like buying into the outcome,
yes,
you know,
yeah,
like that this is a way for it to be as successful. This is what it needs to look like at the end.
correct,
And not understanding there are so many nuances
yeah,
that could still lead to success.
yeah,
So, where I haven't been successful in letting go of control, I've just handed it to someone else.
yes. That's good. And
you know,
that's the best
I'm
way of
just
doing
like,
it.
you know what? You are better at letting go than I
Yeah,
am. So, you take care of that event,
yeah.
like, or you take care of that. Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
that's good. Outsourcing when it's needed because that makes your life easier and
Yes.
it gets the job done. Okay, speaking about business. Okay, now let us be honest, Mona. I mean, you're the first community center in the sense where, like, and again, I have this limited view because I'm mostly from a business side. When I hear community center, all I'm thinking of NGO funding, that kind of stuff. Okay, there's nothing like element of like self-sustaining. So what I need to understand is that art and business they're not usually seen together, especially in Somaliland. So what are your plans for the ICRA Center to stay liquid and cash positive in a potential recession scenario? So I'm looking at twofold. One is what's making you tick and stay liquid in Somaliland, and again against a backdrop without kind of slinging mud at the other businesses, but they usually kind of NGO funded. And every time, and I give my personal experience when I try to set up a business, everyone's telling me, Mohammed, just get funding for it. I'm like, no, 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 no. I don't want to get funding. I want to do my own. But that's the kind of system that everyone's used to. So let me know for ICRA how you guys gonna stay liquid when you're dealing with art.
Um, just really fantastic questions, by the way.
Oh,
I know people always say, good question, but really great question, and train of thought. So I, for us, like I come from private sector, corporate environment. So for me, the concept of just like uh, getting funding and that being your main source, it's not something that I can really get with, if that makes sense. So for me, it was always going to be business. Um, and I think people are always going to pay for what's important to them,
correct.
right? So we haven't really had any issues when it comes to we've made our programs as affordable as possible, but also you know our focus is profit
Yes.
outside of delivering what we say we're going to deliver, right? So one of the things that we had to do mid last year was reassess
Mm-hmm.
because at the beginning you're sort of a lot of trial and error,
Mm-hmm.
and a decision that we made was we would let go of some of the programs that were close to heart
Mm-hmm.
but not profitable,
Good choice.
right? That's not to say we won't do them again, it's just they're not affordable now.
Right.
So zooming out, standing back, and being realistic with ourselves, Ayan and I, and just saying, okay, these are fantastic and they're great for the community and we want to do them. But right now, we can't afford the resources. Um, that was one. And then the other thing was also for us, collaborating has actually turned into profit. You
Nice.
know, I think Somali, like as a Somali people, we are amazing entrepreneurs. We spearhead. On an individual basis, we can get things done,
Yes.
but sometimes like collaboration can be challenging,
Mm,
right?
so true.
So for us, working with groups like HCC, Harun Tadanka,
Yes.
Saham Books,
Yes.
Sahmiya,
Yeah.
um, Barrow, like these groups are like-minded.
Nice.
They care about what we care about. And they opened doors for us when it came to business. And so that to me was important as well.
Nice.
So, in terms of your question of how we remain liquid, like people pay for our events,
Hmm.
you know, we try and keep things as low touch as possible so that it's not strenuous on us operationally and our staff. People also, I mean, obviously pay for all the training courses. We have contracts
Hmm.
with different organizations where we go on site
Hmm.
and teach their staff
Nice.
either communication skills or English language training, whatever they need really. And that is, forecastable. So contracts like that are very, very helpful. Um, Yeah, and then the thing that we didn't expect that has been incredibly profitable is space hire and providing the space to
Yeah.
other organizations and individuals. Um, yeah, and I mean that's not to say like we're racking it in, like
No.
raking it in, but we are like it's about better than before,
Yep. It's.
right? So
I'll be
yeah,
honest. The space high. I'm not surprised because one thing you guys have done is you build up that intangible value of goodwill. To be associated with the ICRA Center, to have that network, people are willing to pay premium to use that space, and it also provides kind of more potential access to other audiences they wouldn't get in their normal walks of life. So as a result of it, I'm not surprised you're raking it in that side to stay afloat. Don't get me wrong. It's not like because if you had that, if I saw Ikra Center Part Two in Berbera, then we know you're raking it in. Yeah, no. But to be honest, I think every city, Somaliland, does deserve to have that creative space because one thing that I was kind of a bit sad was for a society that's known to be oral and poetic, we kind of forgotten that in our history, and we're just kind of gone straight to business or math, that kind of stuff. So I think that's good to hear. Okay, so I've kept you long enough, so I won't and
sorry, I just wanted to say
y-
on that.
yeah.
Um, because you mentioned the space hire.
Mm-hmm.
There was something that felt important that I just wanted to tell you, but I was interrupted.
And that don't worry.
Um, Sorry, I'm just trying to think.
Mm-hmm.
The space hire.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've lost it.
Don't
I
worry.
guess it wasn't meant to be.
It's no, but one thing. Okay, I'll try and jog your memory by mentioning people associating the goodwill factor of Ikra Center. This is why they're willing to pay for the space hire. So
Yeah.
maybe that's something that, I can tell you from personal experience, in Somaliland, property are hard to get, especially properties which are geared to provide training facilities. But more importantly, even if you find a good office in Somaliland, you still need the people, the foot kind of and foot traffic, and Ikra provides that.
Yes.
So I think in a way, even for myself, if I was as a trainer and I couldn't afford an office in Somaliland, the first thing I would do is try to collaborate with yourself because you have your goodwill factor, you have the foot traffic, and at the same time, I will have access to people who are used to paying for a service and not having to justify, charging. So that's why I'm not surprised in regards to the space hire. You have found another potential revenue. Plus, your community center is a cool place to be delivering training center. Let's say as a vibe, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. One thing you mentioned, which really made me think, was that every city deserves a
Yes,
community space like this.
definitely.
I was recently in Buro,
Hmm.
Often I just talk to people from the local people from Bora,
Yeah.
and I would tell them what we do at EPRA, and they would say, "That's what we need," or
Yes.
"We need that." And it is true because there are expertise, there is talent in the city itself
Yes.
where people can, like, I'm now in the next week, hopefully signing up for a web development thing
Nice.
run by one of our community members. That's an expertise I don't have, but he does,
Yes.
right? So it's just sharing. The community and the training are actually, they go hand in hand more than you think,
Correct.
you know? So the idea of having another Ekra in Pura, having it in Berbera, having it in Borome, that for me is really incredibly exciting.
Nice.
Even on the other side of, because we're in Chikchigate, on the other side of Hargeisa,
Yes.
that, yeah, really exciting to think about that.
No, I can tell you because I was doing one trip to Somaliland, and on that trip sat next to me two Americans. So of course you know how it is. You need to ask questions. Hey, what you doing? Is either are you a spy or you a sorry teacher? So I just had to drop that in. No, but basically, and these guys were retired teachers from, I think they lived in Saudi at some point, and they were moving to Burao. I'm like, hold up. I'm used to Hargeisa, at the most maybe better, that kind of stuff for DP
Yeah,
World. But no, they go to Burao because there was a new academy being built and they were bringing in teachers. So it made me kind of proud that you having non-Somalis who are buying into the dream of Somaliland, and with Ikra Center being able to provide a service in these cities where more and more either diaspora or non-Somalis are in those cities, they need a place just to go and chill. And like you said, in Melbourne, where you have every weekend you can try something, after a while you get tired of enjoying all those. And I'm not going to mention any business names because I go to a lot of coffee shops. You get tired of visiting all those coffee shops because you're going to see the same people and you're getting the same cappuccino. So
yeah,
it's good at
yeah.
least you can
No,
provide that. Okay,
and
okay.
and
Yeah.
and on that, we welcome ideas all the time.
Mm.
People come up and they say, "Hey, I want to host this," or "What do you guys think about this event?"
Yeah. It's I and that's the thing is that you have the space, good location wise, and at the same time, even the place that you are based, there's a lot of diaspora who live around that area.
True.
So I think, yeah, I definitely, I would not be surprised for 2023 to see a lot more services being added on. And like you said, this collaboration allows you to take a step back and still deliver premium service to the community. So I think that's really good.
Absolutely. I cannot say more. Like, I really couldn't give more big ups to the organizations that came before us or who are bigger than us
Yeah.
that have shown a lot of love and also like a hand up,
Nice.
um, and are more than willing to work with us on programs, you
Nice.
know? So,
No, no, it's. I think that's it's really good. It's what I wouldn't be surprised to see schools coming into your place and start having reading sessions for kids or something. But no, but because it's such a cool thing. Okay, I've kept it long enough, and I know you have your day job to do. So one question I was gonna ask you is that a quick summary, and I loved when you said your whole family was making and bets on how long you survive. What is the difference that you felt of your experience, personal experience of the culture in Australia versus Somaliland, and do you think your Australian experience, I know with the private sector that helped you build ICRA, has been a blessing or a curse for this and for Somaliland?
no, definitely every experience has been a blessing.
Hmm.
I remember when I was doing crazy, like 12 or 14-hour days in my corporate life,
Right.
like giving my life to this company, being a company woman. And, there were stages where I just thought, "Oh, this is not good for me, right?" Like,
Right.
and eventually I had to leave because it's not sustainable
Of
to
course.
be that dedicated for that long.
Yeah.
But it is allowing me to practice and deliver
Yeah.
in Hargeisa. in a way that I wouldn't have been able to if I didn't have those experiences.
Correct.
And I think it even lends itself to the adaptability that has helped me here.
Hmm.
And I've kept a lot of my networks
Nice.
from Melbourne in that time, and they've in turn contributed to
Nice.
ICRA. So yeah, I think every like they say no experience is wasted,
Mm.
and that's how I feel about yeah, all of those times. And there's no point, there's no point comparing Australia and Somaliland because they've just like they've grown up different.
Yes. Very true. No, so
Yeah,
true.
yeah. So
No, no. Honestly, good point. And I like you mentioned that it allowed you to adapt to Somaliland. Final question, and this I promise is the final question. What advice would you give to anyone wanting to start their own business?
in Somaliland,
Hmm. Purely Somaliland. I know we touched upon the challenges and you need to have a great beard and all that, but the fact is, what if someone came to you today and said, "Hey, Mona, male or female, I want to start a business in Somaliland." What advice would you give them?
um, I guess there's lots of advice
Hmm.
that you because we've seen Ayan and I've seen a lot in the 18 months of establishing and running ICRA.
Yeah.
Um, One of the biggest challenges we had early on was contractors not using the funds that we've given them for what they need or what they were supposed to. So we were scammed a lot.
Kusa no
We were
Somaliland,
scammed
unfortunately,
a
working
lot.
honestly.
Like
Uh,
and like there was a time when we did so much. Like after the first scam, we were like, yeah, well now
yeah,
it's all about due diligence
yeah.
and we're going to get guarantors and we're going to go and view the work and we're going like past work and we're going to sign a contract on the notary and none of that stuck, right? So I think one is like we've worked on creating a database of people that are trustable,
Mm,
so going and getting advice
yeah.
on before you just start constructing or before you start just building or any whatever you're doing, um, when it comes to contractual work, you should really go and find out from business owners who already use certain like let
Yes.
if you can get their database
Yes.
of trusted people,
Yes.
use that because even if it's yeah even if you go through the due diligence process, it doesn't it might still backfire. So that would be my first, because that was such a pain point for us
Of
early on.
course. Of course.
So I know we didn't talk about it before, but that's why I would give advice around that.
Yeah.
And people talk sweet, like people will tell you they can do everything, and you're like, oh, this guy, this is the guy. And it just doesn't work out. So that would be my first. And then I think for somebody who has an idea and they're passionate about it, and they've got some level of understanding of how it could work, there's a vision for it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Nice.
You know, they say like if you want to get ideas and like the best ideas, where do you find them? Do you know that?
No,
Where do
no,
you
no,
find
no, no. Go for it.
them? They say you're most likely to find them in cemeteries because people have
That's such a
that's where they've taken their idea.
that's such a good, honestly, way of thinking. Exactly, because you keep on thinking about it, and you don't never action upon it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
brilliant.
I think my biggest thing is just do it.
Yeah.
Take that first step, and it doesn't have to be big. Just do it from home, or
Yeah.
do it for your group of friends,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Um, but just yeah,
Honestly, well, look,
take the action.
that's really a great advice and for me a perfect way to conclude this podcast session. Well, Olu, it's really been a pleasure having you today on the Man Delights, and I'm sure we'll be chatting again, sure, shortly. So thanks a million for taking the time from your busy schedule of running Ikra Center. just to
Thank you
talk to
so
me.
much.
You know,
I've really enjoyed talking to you.
sweet.
And yeah, the conversation itself has been a great way for me to reflect and, yeah, think of things that, you just move on from.
True. No,
Yeah,
no. Well, honestly, Walalo, and once again, thanks again, and inshallah, I wish you all the best. And definitely, when I'm next time in Somaliland, I'll make sure I'll enjoy one of yours, your sessions, inshallah, Walalo. Yeah.
absolutely. Thank you so much.
Okay, Walalo. Take
Hey,
care. All right. Bye
bye.
bye. Well, that's all, folks. Thank you for listening to my podcast, which is simply the reflections of a nomad consultant living life on a day by day basis. I just want to conclude by saying I appreciate the love and support you guys are showing me. Until the next time, peace and love.